On March 26, 1997, sheriff's deputies walked into a rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California, and found 39 bodies laid out on bunk beds. They were wearing matching black tracksuits, brand new Nike Decade sneakers, and purple shrouds over their faces. The group was called Heaven's Gate, and it had been quietly recruiting since the early 70s. Their leader was a former music professor named Marshall Applewhite, a man with intense blue eyes and a soft, hypnotic voice. Applewhite and his co-founder Bonnie Nettles taught that human bodies were just vehicles. The real you was an alien soul, and Earth was a garden being cultivated by beings from what they called the next level. To graduate to that next level, you had to shed everything human. Members gave up sex, family, names, possessions. 8 of the men, including Applewhite, were surgically castrated in Mexico. In 1995, an amateur astronomer spotted a bright new comet streaking toward the sun. It was called Hale-Bopp, and a conspiracy theorist on Art Bell's late-night radio show claimed a spaceship was hiding in its tail. For Applewhite, that was the signal. The spaceship was coming to collect them, and the only way to board was to leave their human vehicles behind. They recorded farewell videos, smiling, calm, talking about going home. Over 3 days in late March, they took poison in shifts. Phenobarbital mixed with applesauce, washed down with vodka, plastic bags secured over their heads. Each one was tucked in by the next until only 2 were left to die alone. Every member had a $5 bill and 3/4 in their pocket. Nobody is entirely sure why. It was, at the time, the largest mass suicide on American soil. 24 years earlier and 4,000 miles away, a French sports journalist and amateur race car driver named Claude Vorillon went hiking inside the crater of an extinct volcano in central France. He says a flying saucer descended through the fog. A small green-skinned humanoid with long black hair stepped out and started speaking to him in fluent French. The alien explained that humans weren't evolved from apes. We were designed in a laboratory by a race called the Elohim, the same beings mistranslated in the Bible as God. Claude Vorillon was their chosen prophet. He rebranded himself as Rael, started wearing white jumpsuits with shoulder pads, and built a movement that today claims tens of thousands of followers across 90 countries. The Raelians preach free love, atheism, and a coming utopia where the Elohim will return to a special embassy that humans must build for them, ideally in Jerusalem. In 2002, a Raelian bishop named Brigitte Boisselier held a press conference and announced her company Clonade had produced the world's first human clone, a baby girl named Eve. She never produced any evidence. Scientists called it a hoax. In El Cajon, California in the 1950s, a quiet psychic named Ernest Norman and his much younger wife Ruth founded the Unarius Academy of Science. Unarius stood for Universal Articulate Interdimensional Understanding of Science. After Ernest died, Ruth took over and turned the operation into something gloriously theatrical. She wore enormous beaded gowns, jeweled tiaras, and called herself Uriel, Archangel and Cosmic Visionary. Ruth taught that her followers were reincarnated souls from other planets, working off karmic debt from past lives on Atlantis and Lemuria. She also predicted that in 2001, a fleet of 33 spaceships would land on a remote ranch in Jamul, California. The Space Brothers, as she called them, would emerge and usher in a new age of peace and intergalactic learning. Ruth and her followers bought the ranch and waited. Ruth died in 1993, 8 years before her own deadline. 2001 came and went. No ships. The Unarius Academy still exists in El Cajon, still produces psychedelic public access videos, and still considers the prophecy delayed. Not wrong. In 1955, a former Taiwanese professor of social science named Hon-Ming Chen began teaching a mashup of Buddhism, Taoism, UFO theory, and his own personal revelations. He called his group Chen Tao, the true way. Chen taught that God was a physical being who traveled through space in flying saucers, and that human souls were created in alien laboratories. Sound familiar? In 1997, Chen moved about 150 of his followers from Taiwan to the unlikeliest possible Holy Land, Garland, Texas, a flat suburb just outside Dallas. He chose it because Garland sounded like Godland. They bought houses on the same cul-de-sac, all wore white clothes and white cowboy hats, and waited. Chen announced that on March 25, 1998, God would appear on Channel 18 of every television in North America. 6 days later, on March 31st, God himself would physically descend in Garland, Texas, looking exactly like Han Ming Chen, and shake the hand of every believer simultaneously. On the morning of the 25th, reporters and curious neighbors gathered in front of Chen's house. The cameras rolled. Channel 18 showed nothing but its usual programming. Chen stepped onto his lawn, faced the press, and admitted he might have been wrong. He offered to be stoned or crucified by any reporter who wanted to do it. None of them took him up on it. Most of the followers drifted home. A few stuck with him, and he relocated the remaining group to upstate New York to wait for the next sign. There's one more group worth mentioning because it started the whole modern pattern. The Aetherius Society, founded in 1955 by a London taxi driver named George King. King claimed that while doing the dishes in his Maida Vale flat, a voice boomed out telling him to prepare to become the voice of interplanetary parliament. He started channeling cosmic masters from Venus, Mars, and Saturn, including one called Aetherius. His followers still gather to charge spiritual batteries on holy mountains, beaming prayer energy into a device they believe will release it during global crises. Here's what's interesting about all 5 of these groups. They all started after June 24th, 1947. That's the day a pilot named Kenneth Arnold saw 9 shiny objects skipping through the sky over Mount Rainier, and gave us the phrase flying saucer. Before 1947, religious visionaries saw angels, the Virgin Mary, and ascended Tibetan masters. After 1947, the visions changed uniforms. Same robes, same secret knowledge, same chosen few, but now in chrome ships from outer space. The promise underneath never really changed. You are not ordinary. You are not from here. The world is about to end, and you, specifically, are going to be saved. The spaceships are always just about to arrive.